hosts in tuneful choirs touch their immortal harps with golden wires. Let the cherubics in tuneful choirs touch their immortal harps, touch their immortal harps with golden wires. Touch their immortal harps with golden wires. Let the bright seraphim in a burning row their loud uplifted angel trumpets blow. Let the bright seraphim in a burning row, burning row, their loud uplifted angel trumpets blow. Their loud uplifted angel trumpets blow. The loud uplifted angel trumpets blow. Let the bright seraphim in a burning row, in burning row, their loud uplifted angel trumpets blow. Their loud uplifted angel trumpets blow. Their loud trumpets blow.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks to Lila Kenny Dunn and Lyuba Egorova for that beautiful performance of Handel's Let the Bright Seraphim. My name is David Garcia, and I'm chair of the Department of Music. I want to begin by reaching out to every music graduate to express my sincerest congratulations to you for having accomplished so much these past 4 years. Whether you are with your family back home or with a group of your closest friends, today you are officially a graduate from one of the most prestigious public universities in the world. And you did this in spite of something that none of us who have received a degree had to ever do: persevere in the face of a vicious pandemic. None of us, with the exception, of course, of last year's trailblazing class of 2020. I don't want to mention the pandemic too much at all for the rest of this commencement, because I'm sure, like me, you're wanting to just move on. And that's perfectly okay. But also like me, maybe some of you lost a best friend from high school, a relative, even a parent. So let's take a moment to reflect on those who we've lost this past year. Thank you. In preparing these brief opening remarks, I was delighted to read through all of your names, the graduating class of 2021. As I read the names of students who I had the honor of having in my class, or having advised, or just became acquaintances with as our paths crossed through the halls of Keenan, Person, or Hill, I smiled, thinking of each of the singularly unique contributions you made to not only who we are, but what we do and why we do it here in the Department of Music. Your countless hours of practicing your instruments in the basement of Hill, composing and recording your own music, whether for an assignment or just because you had a good idea for a track, researching materials on electronic databases or reading electronically accessible books for a term paper or an honors thesis you wrote, rushing past your friends to be on time for a lesson, marching on Franklin Street in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, preparing music for your senior recital, scoring tickets for Carolina basketball or football games, or cramming for an exam you hadn't been able to study because, after all, you're double majoring. Class of 2021, you are who we sing to in Hark the Sound, Tar Heel Voices. The music you've made, the air you breathed, the thought you put to text, and the purposed steps you took to make a difference in your life and the lives of others will forever reverberate around these halls and classrooms. So let's begin and do what you all are here for. Welcome Professors Jocelyn Neal and Evan Feldman, who will recognize our degree recipients.
I will now read the names of all of the Bachelor of Arts degree recipients. Caroline Elizabeth Baker, Casey Ray Balu, Paapa-Berchie Berko, Cullum Gregory Blackwell, Patrick Blaha, Leah Ruth Brooks, Dylan Reed Brown, Andrew Peter Bryant, Claire Chang, Leslie Chi Chow, Bennett Nicholas Congdon, Grace Juhong He, Hannah Elizabeth James, Emily Gail Kramer, Ashley Ann Lucas, Maya Tobin Montani, George Franklin Morris, James Ian Payne, Cody Edward Chu, Sophia Isabel Rakabi Tomei, Sheridan Marine C., Naomi Lorraine Strother, Amber Gisela Vigil, Cameron Mackenzie Ward, Rebecca Martha Williams, Jane Jen Zhao. Congratulations to all the recipients of our Bachelor of Arts degree.
It is my pleasure to read the names of the Bachelor of Music recipients. Damon Wallace Blair, Christian Lewis Bolacek, Alexandra London Dunavant, Hayes Vaughn Dunlevy, Lila Kenny Dunn, Lauren Dominica Holtzhauser, Samuel Cullen Howell, Gregory Paul Jeffers, Amanda Lee McAllister, Nija Cheyenne Poteet, Benjamin Ryan Robinson, Emma Catherine Schubart, Naomi Shizuko Sutherland, Emily Joyce Williams, Melody Yancy Zhao. Congratulations to all these degree recipients.
I would now like to recognize the graduate students who have earned degrees this year. Our students who receive a Master's of Arts in Musicology have completed 2 years of graduate coursework and written a substantial MA thesis, as well as passed an examination before the entire academic faculty. The recipients of the Master's of Arts degree this year are Sophia Maria Andrikopoulos, with a thesis titled Rockism in a Poptimist World, Gilmore Girls and Rock and Roll, advised by Aaron Harkis. Melissa Lee Camp, with a thesis entitled The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, but It Will Be Streamed, Spotify, Playlist Curation, and Social Justice Movements, advised by Mark Katz. Robert Justin Frankeny, with a thesis entitled Genre as Distinction, the Morals Volta and the Symbolic Boundaries of Progressive Rock, advised by Aaron Harkis. Tara Lee Jordan, with a thesis entitled Mobilizing Mary, Eleonora Gonzaga's Religious and Political Influence as Shown in 2 Settings of a Pianta della Madonna, advised by Tim Carter. Please join me in congratulating these students on this important accomplishment. Our students who receive a Doctor of Philosophy have started with graduate coursework and shorter research papers before undertaking several years of original research in their chosen field. With their dissertation, they have completed a significant contribution to the study of music. I will now read the names of our PhD recipients. John Shields Caldwell, with a dissertation entitled Songs from the Other Side, The Lives of Pakistani Music in India, advised by Michael Figueroa. Joanna Evelyn Helms, with a dissertation entitled Electronic Music History Through the Everyday, the RAI Studio di Fonologia, 1954 to 1983, advised by Andrea Bowman. Please join me in welcoming these new PhD recipients to this ancient and venerable company of scholars. And congratulations to all of our graduate students.
I would now like to welcome to the podium our student speaker, Zhen Zhao. Zhane is a double major in computer science and music, studying piano with Professor Clara Yang. She is from Cary, North Carolina, and following graduation, Zhane plans to work as a software engineer at Capital One in Washington, D.C. Zhane?
Good afternoon, honored guests, family, friends, professors, and distinguished class of 2021. I'm honored to be standing here to congratulate you all on this notable accomplishment. I could go back and reminisce about the past 4 years, but perhaps it would be more beneficial to look forward to what is to come and where we will be. A phrase I've been pondering on recently is sapere vedere. It's a phrase made famous by Leonardo da Vinci. And this phrase combines the Latin words sapere, which means knowing how, and vedere, which means to see. So sapere vedere means knowing how to see. To Da Vinci, life is measured by one's ability to see correctly. He described the almost mystical process of artists not simply painting what they see, as much as their ability to see what they paint. He also famously said there are 3 classes of people: those who see when they are shown, and those who do not see at all. Sapere vedere is knowing how to see something when no one else sees it and doing something about it. Da Vinci believed that this was crucial to living all aspects of life fully. To live a life of sapere videre, we must know where, why, and how we travel through life's adventures. There are 3 key things I'd like to share with you all today. First, vision is where we travel. As Helen Keller aptly puts it, the most pathetic person in the world is someone who has sight but has no vision. We must be able to visualize and to see beyond what is immediately before us and see our ultimate goal. Pete Vidmer was an Olympic gymnast who started training for the Olympics at age 12, but he didn't compete in the games until he was 23, a long, grueling 11 years later. And he spent hours in the gym doing the same exercises over and over again. But the only way he could stay driven, the only way he could stay focused, is by constantly visualizing the desired result and connecting with his inner emotion. He had a vision of what he wanted to be, an Olympic champion, and daily he would envision himself performing a perfect routine, standing at the top of that podium with a gold medal around his neck, and he would ask himself, what will I feel? How will I look? What will it be like? And he would conceptualize exactly what he needed to do in order to perfect the routine. And it was with this victorious vision that Pete Vidmer won 2 Olympic gold medals in the 1984 Olympics. Peter Marshall says, "Give to us clear vision that we may know where to stand and what to stand for, because unless we stand for something, we shall fall for anything." Vision is the where we travel, and passion is the why. The word passion comes from the Latin root pati, means suffering or enduring. However, many of the modern applications of passion no longer convey the idea of suffering, but rather of intense desire. But passion is, at its core, a form of pain that demands to be quenched. Suffering isn't necessarily a bad thing, and depending on the context, it can and should be a good thing. It's noble, it's sacred, it's life-defining. It's one thing to suffer and be a victim, and it's an entirely different thing to be willing to suffer for a cause and become a victor. When we discover what we are willing to pay a price for, we discover our life's mission and purpose. Passion is what sent Viktor Frankl into the hell of the Holocaust. Early on, it was clear to him that the Nazis would take over his beloved Vienna, and as an esteemed surgeon, psychotherapist, neurologist, and author, he could have left. Frankl had arrived home from the American consulate with his travel visas in hand to find a large block of marble sitting on the table. His father had rescued it from a local synagogue that had been destroyed by the Nazis, and it was a piece of marble bearing the commandment that read, "Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long with you in the land." Viktor put his travel visas in his drawer and never used it again. He willingly chose to stay because of his deep love for his parents who couldn't obtain visas for themselves. He chose to suffer alongside his parents. And he was at his father's side in the concentration camps and was willing and able to administer medication that helped ease his pain and suffering until his father passed in his arms. Frankl went on to pen Man's Search for Meaning, and he was the founder of logotherapy, a school of psychotherapy which describes a search for a life meaning as a central human motivational force. Viktor's willingness to suffer led him to his gift and led him to what he was meant to do, to help others find meaning and purpose in life. He said, "Our core drive as humans is our search for meaning. The way in which a man accepts his fate and all the suffering that entails, the way in which he takes up his cross, gives him ample opportunity, even under the most difficult circumstances, to add a deeper meaning to his life." Passion is the willingness to suffer for what we love and is often the door that leads us to our path. So thirdly, path is the way we travel. At UNC, according to our mission statement, we embrace an unwavering commitment to excellence as one of the world's greatest research universities. Excellence is the way we travel our path. So just to share a few bullet points, excellence attracts. Excellence builds trust. Excellence makes you memorable. Excellence raises the standard, and excellence produces inner satisfaction. Our time at UNC may be coming to a close, but the way we live our lives, the way we travel on our individual paths will be marked by the character that we have developed here and will sustain us far beyond these 4 years. Viktor Frankl said, "Everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life. Everyone must carry out a concrete assignment that must be fulfilled. Therein he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. Understanding, as well as appreciating our unique calling is crucial. The two most important days of our lives are the day that we're born and the day that we discover what we were born to do. And that's the day that we catch the vision of who we were meant to be. People with sapere vedere, they look forward. They're capable of believing and seeing what others don't. Knowing how to see is crucial to living a life of significance. People without vision often fixate on the past. They allow what has already happened to shape and define what can and what will happen. By letting only hindsight dictate, they ensure that their path will invariably repeat itself. And it is the trademark of those with sapere vedere to see not only the past and the present, but also the future. And as the old proverb says, where there is no vision, the people perish. I'll leave you with one last quote by Stephen Covey, who is an educator, keynote speaker, and author of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. His motto is to live life in crescendo. He says, to live life in crescendo is to constantly look forward. It means that your greatest work and contribution is always ahead of you. This philosophy places the emphasis on contribution. While achievement has a beginning and an end, contribution is ongoing and enduring. If you focus on contribution and not on achievement, you will achieve more than your wildest dreams. As UNC graduates, we've been deeply shaped by these past 4 years. As we leave this campus and spread to all over the world, we're ambassadors of UNC. The way we live is shaped by the mission and the values of this university. Class of 2021, blessings upon blessings. May there be favor that goes before you and behind you. May whatever you put your hands to bring great impact and influence to those around you. And may your lives be graced with joy, peace, and love. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Jane. Now, Paapa-Berchie Kwaku Berko, who graduated in December, will perform a piece of his own creation entitled Crown. Papa?
Can't breathe, my heart aching, slowly fading away. Wake me up this crazy dream, just wanna feel love. I was drowning on my down, my past and my transgressions. I woke up to see I lost myself, and I just can't let it go. All of my struggle and all of my pain made my heart empty. Felt I was insane, but I'll keep going no matter how dark life's at the moment. Won't drop my crown. Late after dark was the usual that I think to myself, should I go get the bottle or spark a blunt conversation with the Holy Father, or get to my temptation of my lust and affection, ignore my depression, only to come back and face all my demons crawling on me. Feel my life is crashing slowly, but I got back on my feet. I live to see another day. All of my struggle and all of my pain made my heart empty. Felt like I was insane, but I'll keep going no matter how dark life's at the moment. Won't drop my crown. Found my purpose. I won't let myself down. Let all of the hate go. Lock in your energy. Don't lose your focus. Unlock your energy. No, I will always be strong. Don't give up on yourself. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, searching for my life, but I just found my purpose. So I won't let myself down.
Thank you, Papa. I now invite Professor Lee Weisert to the podium to present our Music Department Awards. Professor Weisert.
Good afternoon. I'm very proud to announce these special awards in music. The David Ahrens Award for Excellence in Musical Performance goes to Lauren Dominica Holzhauser. The Music Department Award for Academic Excellence goes to Rebecca Martha Williams. The Chamber Music Award goes to Alexandra London Dunavant. The Choral Music Award goes to Samuel Cullen Howell. The Academic Performance Award in Piano goes to Jane Jin Zhao. The Jonathan Gregory Rohr Award goes to Philip Jackson Mosley. The Benjamin Swalene Orchestra Award goes to Andrew Peter Bryant and Bennett Nicholas Congdon. The Thelma Thompson Composition Award goes to James Larkins. The UNC Opera Award goes to Alexandra London Dunavant and Lila Kenny Dunn. The UNC Opera Design and Production Award goes to Amy Komanichi. And the Viol Consort Award goes to Corbin Bryan. The remainder of the awards listed in the program have already been given out. Congratulations to all of our award winners.
Today, we have a very special guest. William Henry Curry lives in Durham and is known well beyond our area for his tremendous talent as a conductor and composer. Just a few weeks ago, the UNC Symphony gave the world premiere performance of Maestro Curry's Dark Testament, a three-movement work based on African-American spirituals. Curry has served as the music director and conductor of the Durham Symphony Orchestra since 2009, and before that was the resident conductor and Summerfest artistic director of the North Carolina Symphony for 20 years. Please welcome Maestro Curry to the podium to deliver today's commencement address.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, David Garcia, for that kind introduction. Well, students, it's been a long time coming, but you've made it. Have you paid off all of your student loans yet? No? That's a lot of money. But as someone said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And be comforted by Theodore Roosevelt's opinion of the true value of higher learning. He said, a person who has never gone to school may steal from a freight car, but if he has a university education, he may steal from the whole railroad. That can't be right. Well, obviously, I'm very flattered to be asked to address this group on this important and memorable day. I've taken seriously my charge to give this commencement address. After all, for most of you, this will be the last time in your academic life that you will have to endure from an authority figure a blast of hot air masquerading as wisdom. And I feel I am talking to soulmates today, people who have made an obvious commitment to music. For most of you, your obsessional interest in music probably began 10 to 15 years ago. I myself began playing instruments in the 6th grade. I have to admit that I didn't like practicing at all, even to be mediocre. But after playing for 2 years, I gained some technique, and one day I discovered that I could express my feelings through my playing. This was a real light bulb over the head moment. It was, to use a phrase by American writer Patty Chayefsky, a cleansing moment of clarity. For a very shy kid, this was a great revelation. Through music, I could express feelings and thoughts, some of which had no name. One does not forget such moments, and I'm sure everyone here has their stories about such a moment, when they knew that music was going to be something very important in their life. Growing up, I played in many youth symphonies. It was there that I found people that were equally in love with music. Until then, I didn't feel that I fit in anywhere with my peers. But with musicians, I found my tribe, my peeps. I'm sure you have all experienced the joy of fellowship with fellow musical travelers. After playing in orchestras, the desire to lead one became intense. I wanted to be that person, the conductor, that revealed the full power and poetry of a composition. At the age of 15, I made my conducting debut. Since then, my career has included a Carnegie Hall debut, a Grammy Award nomination, conducted orchestras in Asia, the Middle East, and 50 of America's finest orchestras. Along the way, I've worked with a diverse group of musicians, including Aaron Copland, John Williams, and Ella Fitzgerald. It's been a good life in music. Most of my success stems from being the recipient of this gift. I love music. I really love music. These feelings have given me the will and the discipline to work the long hours to make my music as exciting as possible, because it deserves it. For your own life in music, I hope that music will be a perfect vehicle for your emotions and creativity, and that you will share this love with others. Share it with all the people that come into your orbit, because they all deserve to be blessed by your enthusiasm for the best in music. Pass it on. One of my favorite poems underlines this. It is by Oscar Hammerstein of Rodgers and Hammerstein fame. They wrote such musicals as Oklahoma and The Sound of Music. This was the very last song lyric Oscar Hammerstein ever wrote, when he knew he only had a few months to live. It comes from the second act of The Sound of Music. A bell's not a bell till you ring it. A song's not a song till you sing it. And love in your heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till you give it away. Sharing what you love is a gift for both parties. Part of the tradition of commencement speeches is to include a few comments on what happens next as you leave this virtual cocoon and enter the real world. I want to share with you some things that I wish someone had told me about the real world on commencement day. I wish someone had told me that the comfort of conformism was not just a teen thing. It's also an adult thing, and one of our biggest enemies. This is because man is a social animal. And it seems to me that the maxim to get along, go along, seems to trump every known philosophy of life. The urge to conform to the norm seems to begin these days at the end of grade school, earlier and earlier every decade. Now, it must be admitted that the urge to conform is strong. Resist it. I urge you to adopt the ethos of a skeptic whose motto might be, trust but verify. Re-examine everything. Your parents, no doubt, bequeathed to you a foundation of ethics. This system of values probably included your current religion and political affiliation. But at this point in your life, you do not honor them or yourselves by being the intellectual clone of your parents. Inspect, probe, question. George Bernard Shaw reminds us that an unexamined life is not worth living. At the same time, take care not to reject something just because it is part of the status quo. Do not throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are in every field good traditions and bad traditions. I have noticed when studying the various interpretations of a classical work that something like 80% of the traditions are excellent. But what a joy it is to be a musical skeptic and overthrow these senseless traditions that have accumulated around a piece because of intellectual laziness. As our country's greatest social critic, Mark Twain, said, education consists mainly in what we have unlearned. I am a reader. My first love was reading. Before I discovered music, I discovered the glory of books. There may be a day that goes by where I do not listen to a piece of music, but I will certainly read a couple hours a day. And about 10 years ago, I finally got around to reading what's considered to be the greatest work in German literature history, Goethe's Faust. Goethe's Faust. A work I highly recommend to be read in an unrhymed translation. Some people have called the whole of our Western civilization a Faustian culture. What does this mean? As you know, this work is about a man who sells his soul to the devil. Goethe uses this frame as a vehicle to argue that man is inherently constructive and destructive, and that this part of human nature is immutable, unchanging. In other words, we are both angelic and demonic. However, Goethe also says there is a silver lining that can redeem the dark side. It is his opinion that the negative elements of life can produce a deep unhappiness that can propel us to positive action, to help others in need, to actively right wrongs, to turn tragedy into triumph. So, give the devil his due. He is always with us, but the demonic elements inside us can be vanquished if we acknowledge and nurture, as Lincoln put it, the better angels of our nature. Goethe's worldview has caused a bit of optimism to seep into this sometimes pessimistic soul. For instance, you all know the story of Anne Frank, the Jewish girl who was hiding in an attic in Holland. She wrote a very famous diary until she was seized by the Nazis and died in a concentration camp. She's famous for saying this before she was seized by the Nazis: in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. And I do believe that is right. You've all lived through a very turbulent time. I'm calling this country the United Haters of America. I would like to see a period where we criticize ourselves, our own political party. And then we have the right, perhaps, to point the finger at someone else. We are scapegoating way too much. Self-reflection is a good thing. Improve yourself, your community. And I love something President Franklin Roosevelt said at the height of World War II, the most horrible war in human history. He had only 4 months to live. And as a kind of valedictory, he quoted from his old schoolmaster, Dr. Peabody, who said, "Things in life will not always run smoothly. Sometimes we will be rising toward the heights, then all will seem to reverse itself and start downward. The great fact to remember is that the trend of civilization is forever upward, that a line drawn through the middle of the peaks and the valleys of the centuries always has an upward trend. Certainly, I have seen enough of this trend in my lifetime to be encouraged about the future. For instance, when I was 10 years old, on a family trip to Virginia, I saw for the first time separate colored and white drinking fountains. At that time, it was still illegal in that state to marry outside of your race. I never thought I would see an African-American president. I never thought I would see gay marriage legalized. The social equality trend for years has been on an upward curve. You are the newest and best members of this all men are created equal American vision. For all the polls tell us that you are the most inclusive generation yet produced in America. So despite its flaws, we are all lucky to have been born in America. Despite the difficulties of plying our trade in a pop culture conformist community, we are lucky that we march to a different drummer. And I must admit to you that I have a special affection for those of you that will become music teachers. Most people don't have a parent that's interested in truly great music. So it's true that most kids get their introduction to music from a music teacher. So a loud bravo to you future educators. But don't forget, we all influence each other. Therefore, we are all role models and teachers. Over the last 46 years, I have conducted hundreds of concerts for young people. I consider this musical missionary work to be perhaps the single most important thing I do in the field of music. And over the years, I have received hundreds of letters from kids that have attended these concerts. These letters are priceless to me. Their enthusiasm is gratifying, and their sometimes unintentional humor is equally gratifying. Here's a few letters that were sent to me after a concert. These come from Miss Sapp's 4th grade class in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Dear Maestro Curry, we were super happy even before the concert started. When the music began, it was even better than we thought. You and the orchestra are better than a rock concert. Now that is high praise, isn't it? This is an interesting one. Dear Maestro Curry, the music was so good that I almost fell asleep. But good thing I didn't, because I would have been in big, big trouble like the people behind me that did fall asleep. To tell the truth, once I heard about the concert, I thought it was not going to be very fun. But when we got there and listened to it, it was beautiful. I thank my lovely music teacher, Mrs. Sapp, who is wonderful. I learned a lot from her. I think that the second half of that letter contains the unvarnished truth. Once open minds are exposed to great music, of course they will love it. But someone has to lead them to it. Be that kind of leader. One more letter, perhaps my favorite. Dear Maestro Curry, After I went to the Symphony, it changed my life. I didn't want to do anything else in my life except learn how to play an instrument. You have changed my life. Love, Nicholas Lumley. It's a good day in one's musical life when you read a letter like that. It means you are doing the right thing. I know that all of you will get letters and comments like that during your journey through the real world. I am proud of all of you for having worked so hard to reach this very important day. To you future teachers, I say, you will be doing God's work. To you future performers, I would like to share this thought. When I was 16, I was given a plaque from the cast of my high school production of The Sound of Music. I conducted it. The plaque says, "May the music you live bring you all the happiness and success that you seek." Right. The music you live. Not the music you make for money. Not dutiful music that is phoned in. And not that dreadful music unconnected to feelings, better known as notes. The great music you live is that great music you inhabit and project so passionately that you and your listeners will glimpse the deepest part of our shared humanity. As the hero of my youth, Leonard Bernstein said to young musicians like yourselves, "Lead us to paradise." One of my friends, until he passed away about a decade ago, was Fred Rogers. I grew up in Pittsburgh where his show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, was taped, and I got to know him in the 1980s. I highly recommend a documentary about Fred Rogers. I've forgotten the name. There is a movie starring Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers, which I haven't seen, but I do recommend this documentary about Fred Rogers. And I would like to borrow from him something he often did at the end of a speech. I want all of you now to turn off any music you're listening to, put down the cell phone, stop talking to your friends. If you're driving, get off to the side of the road. Stop everything. Because for 15 seconds, I want you to think of the beloved people in your life that have done so much for you. Your parents, teachers, certain friends. And think of how you want to acknowledge that by complimenting them, by thanking them. And if you have sinned, there's always time to apologize, but not when those loved ones are gone. We all are standing on someone else's shoulders. My parents, my musical mentors, I am everything because of them. So think of the person that has meant so much to you, or the people, for 15 seconds of silence. So, Godspeed. Good luck to every last one of you. But wait a minute. Did we talk about money? Yes, I did allude to that at the beginning of my remarks. Maybe not a suitable topic for commencement day, but in vulgar terms, how are you going to hustle a buck off this music thing? Where's the Skrilla coming from? Hasn't that been what your parents have been saying to you in gentler language for 4 years? Well, Johnny, Jeannie, I'm glad you've had your little fun pursuing this music stuff, but now how are you going to support yourself? You tell them what a very wise man said, me, on this subject. Follow your bliss, and the money will follow. I have never worked a day in my life because it never seemed like work. and I've managed to have a career. So, let it be said, so let it be written. Say it with me. Follow your bliss, and the money will follow. Thank you, everyone. What a great day. I'm William Henry Curry, and I approved that message. God bless you, break a leg, and lead us to paradise.
Thank you, Bill, for all you have shared with our students this past semester. Your music and words of wisdom are an inspiration to us all. Our final musical selection of the day will be the fourth movement of Rachmaninoff's Suite No. 1 in G minor, performed by graduating pianists Cody Edward Chu and Zhen Zhao. Thank you, Cody and Jane, for your marvelous playing, and may you always follow your bliss. And thank you to all of our parents, family, and friends for joining us today to celebrate the class of 2021. And a very special thanks to the music department, faculty, and staff for all of their amazing work this past year in helping to lead our graduates to this day. Following the ceremony, we will celebrate our graduates with a Zoom Hangout. Please find the link in your program and join us in just a few minutes. We close our program with Carolina Stomp, our pandemic video version of our alma mater, Hark the Sound, arranged by Professor Lee Weisert, produced by Professor Evan Feldman and Kat Zachary, edited by Jay Harper and Jesse Moorfield, and performed by the students, faculty, and staff of the UNC Department of Music. Please sing or stomp along with us. Thank you and congratulations to the class of 2021.
Receive